record to the computer. Okay.
We will, the reason we record is, Rania, correct me if I'm wrong, but then we share it on social media, YouTube and so on.
Yes,
So,
I have it in YouTube,
yeah.
and then I post it on the Thriller Book Street group, so people who
Right.
missed it, they can watch it after if they want to.
Right. So people who couldn't be here at this time can watch later. So great idea. Sounds like you did pay homage to it because of your twists in the book. I'm interested in something if I throw a question in there. Anybody else can have questions, by the way, right, Rania? Is there an agenda?
Yes, of course.
No, okay.
Everyone can have any question they want.
Excellent. Quick question for you. Is there a way you could tell us a little bit about your writing process? So what I mean by, there's a variation of process. What I kind of want to know is, do you do a daily word count, or do you do a certain time of day that you write, whether you write 500 words or 5,000, doesn't matter, but you just set aside a certain amount of time? Or, you know what I mean? Do you do self-imposed deadlines? Do you outline? Do you write by the seat of your pants? You don't outline? These kinds of generalities. Can you give us an idea of your process?
Where's the babies?
Sure. First and foremost, I am a hardcore outliner. I outline all of my books. I won't write word one until I have the outline fully fleshed out and I know where it's going to go and I know what each chapter is supposed to present in the emotional context in each chapter. I I use that as a way because I start with an idea, but then I also try and validate that it actually can be a book with the outline.
Brush your hair.
Sorry. Could Rania, you're the moderator. Can you mute?
I'm trying to find
So
mute.
Is that possible? There you go. Thank you. Please continue. I missed that last little bit there, but it's okay. So you're a heavy outliner.
Yeah, and I use the outline as my first step to validate that it can be a book in the first place, because I come up with an idea for a book, but that doesn't mean it actually can be a book, because there may not be enough meat on the bone to actually be worthy of a book. So I use the outline to validate it. And then once the outline is done, I don't really stick to a rigid writing schedule. I'm not one of those who has to write 2,000 words a day or however many words a day. I will write mostly in the morning. I'm most productive in the morning. The earlier, the better. And then I get less and less productive as the day goes on. But most of my work is in the morning, but then I have like self-imposed writing retreats where I will lock myself in my room and just keep churning out words until I get basically depleted, and then I'll step away for a while and regenerate, and then I'll come back. But it's mostly chaotic in terms of how I do it because there's no rigid schedule.
Right. Well, you're in good company. I have a quote here from James Patterson, who's he's noted for Forbes list. Number one on the Forbes list is the author that makes the most amount of money per year. He's near 100 million a year he makes. And in last list I looked at, he was 95 million. And James Patterson is known for his outlining. And he does what you said, word for word. He doesn't write a single word one until the entire novel's outline is perfected and ready to go. I even had a quote from him saying something about, I don't have the quote handy here, but I had a quote from him about outlining, saying something about how can you drive from Los Angeles to New York? You've never done it without getting a map and then picking where you'll stay in hotels and mapping out, well, if I'm going to drive 8 hours a day and then take a room, that would put me here based on the legend of the map for how many miles that is or whatever. So you outline your whole trip, and you can only see as far as your headlights, 200 feet or something. So how can you know what's further without mapping? Like he goes on and on about. So anyway, you're in good company. Some of the best authors in the world do it exactly like you.
I will say that I do allow myself, because one of the, whenever it's a eternal debate that goes back and forth in terms of outlining and pantsing, which one works, which one. And I always say that well, one of the comments I hear most from pantsers who say that it's too rigid. I feel locked in if I have to go with an outline. I don't think I can write that way. And I will say that I do allow myself that once I get into the chapters and start writing, if I feel myself going in a direction or drifting away from the outline, I will allow myself freedom to do that. And then I will go back and update the outline to match where my day-to-day writing has taken me. But it never really goes too far away from the backbone of the outline. It's just very, minimal changes. But I never feel like it's rigid or restrictive in doing it. And that's just my writing style.
Right. Brilliant. Brilliant. And I think that's fantastic that you
Yeah.
allow freedom to move around a bit, because sometimes a character will do something and you'll be like, oh man, I wrote it in the outline that they're going to go do that. And they went and did this, or, whatever. And then you got to, you want to revise and relook, but that's great. Anyone else?
I think that I think that that's so important to allow that fluidity to kind of happen in your reading, because oftentimes when you are really into the writing process and you really start to know these characters, you find that, things that I thought this character might have done is not what they're actually going to do in this situation now that I'm reading it. And I think that that's brilliant to allow yourself that leeway, because otherwise I think that your books would, and your characters probably more so, would not have the authenticness that they do. The characters in this book are just, they felt so real to me, so relatable to me. And even though you may be following that outline with your predetermined twists, which by the way are brilliant, I felt like I saw some of them. I felt like I saw some of them coming, and then all of a sudden they hit me, and I'm like, well, that was not what I saw coming. So I love it that you allow for that to happen naturally.
Thank you. How I envision it is when I come up with an outline and I think of characters that I want to include, at first they're just a concept of what they're going to be and how you think they're going to interact with everybody else. But then actually when you start writing them, you get to know them better as you're writing them, the day-to-day work. And sometimes as you're getting to know them, they're changing your plot, because sometimes a side character takes the limelight and really kind of takes over. I found that in this case with this book, the character of Kat was so much less of a character when I started out, and she kind of took over a lot of the scenes that she was in.
By the way,
I found that to be true with Pat as well.
Tina, did you have a question?
Oh, I was a little off topic there, but I was curious about when you started writing. How did you know that's what you wanted to do, and how you chose your genre, and how did all that come about?
Well, that's a question I get asked a lot. I've always been a writer. I like telling them. Even in high school, I wrote short stories. They were only for me, and I've always been a writer. But then, and I actually, when I started college, I went into journalism. But I found out right away that you can't make any money in journalism, unfortunately, at least back then. So I really didn't get serious about writing until I've raised 3 children. And when the last one left the nest is when I had time to say, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I mean, I'm no longer chasing the kids around. I'm not coaching. I'm not organizing things. Well, that happened in 2009. When they left, the last one left the nest, I started writing seriously in 2009. And basically, went from there. It's taken from 2009. I didn't publish my first book until 2021. So it took 12 years to get to where I felt I needed to be. But I initially I pursued a traditional publishing path, and that never really worked out for me. And then once I decided to go self-publish, then I never looked back.
So
Thank you.
if I could add, you say there was no real money to make in journalism, and you think there's money to make as an author?
No.
A subtle joke, only because the top 5% of all authors make a living is the number that has been quoted many times. And only the top 1.8%, or I'll just say 2%, make more than 100,000 a year. It's only the top 2%, and there's millions of authors. So you have to know that that's a very small amount of authors out there making any kind of serious money. But having said that, if you can, great. Even mid-list authors make a decent income and can pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell everybody that I'm not in it for the money. I mean, I realize that, just as you said, I'm not going to make a living doing this. I only hope that I can make enough money to pay for the next book, because self-publishing is not cheap, and editors, graphic artists, proofreaders, all that costs money. So with Twist, all I'm hoping is that it will pay for either the follow-up to it or one of the other books that I'm working on. Anything beyond that is gravy.
Another comment, you said you had 3 kids and the last one left in 2009. Dude, you look 32.
I know, right?
True.
I know, like, wait a second, what's up?
I'm 68.
Wow, you do
Wow.
not show your age. I don't know what, I think someone miscalculated.
Are
I
you
think you were
sure? That's
born
a
in the late
twist.
70s and you just found out.
Oh my goodness.
That's
No,
the twist
no.
right
You
there.
must have stayed out of the sun.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that a lot. I mean, it used to wear on me when I was a lot younger, because I was getting carded anytime I went into a bar. Up until my 40s, I was getting carded, back when they were serious
Wow.
about it. But now that I'm in my 60s, it's like, wow, that's nice.
Finally allowed into bars without getting ID. Yeah. One other quick comment I want to make is, I don't know if you know this or not, and it's going to be a bold statement. I'm going to follow in Michelle's shoes here. Bold statement. Every author on earth outlines a book, even if they claim to be a pantser. And I'll tell you why. Because a pantser sits and writes chapter 1. They have no idea where they're going to go. They're flying from the seat of their pants. They have no outline, but they type chapter 1, then they type chapter 2. And when they're all done their book, they look back at it and say, hey, wow, I've done a book and I did it without an outline. What they've done is they've written an outline in novel form. Now they go back and rewrite it. Now, like Rania said in the very first comment, she has no idea where she's going when she writes. She was talking to Tina earlier. And then she's like, oh, I get why this character did that now. Oh, I get that. Oh. And then she goes back and she rewrites the revise, the editor, the proofread, blah, blah, blah. And it gets molded to what the end product is, of course. So does the outliner. It gets molded to the end product. But I believe everyone outlines. Some do it with bullet points, and then they go and write the book. Some just write the outline out. That's what I believe. There is no difference. We all, at the end of the day, have a book, and we all had to revise it. But the non-outliners are just writing a book in novel form, an outline in novel form. Anyway, that was my side comment. Every pantser who comes to me and says, oh, I don't outline it, well, you kind of do. Your first draft is your outline. And the reason I say that so boldly is because I don't outline. I've only written an outline once, and it failed miserably. It's the worst book I have on Amazon. It's got the lowest ratings. I realized that writing it out first doesn't work for me. So I pants every single book. I've written 58 novels, 57 without an outline.
Oh, wow.
But
I totally agree.
the first draft is my outline. I just write it in novel form. I'm sorry, Diane, you said something?
I said, yeah, I did. Because you know what you said? I have been saying that for years now because, and I'll tell you another thing, the reason I can tell, because my friends who pants and say, oh, I can't do an outline. I'm like, why don't you? And like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go with the story. And so they want help. And so I give them some suggestions. Oh, that won't work. No, because this is going to happen. Well, then there's your outline. You already know what's going to happen.
It's already in their head.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So they continue to write it from their head. And now when they have a finished product, they have a novel, but it's an outline in novel form. No problem. And then when they revise, they're even closer to having a finished product. Great. but that's their first outline, is what I look at it as. And so, yeah, it's
Yes.
other people do it the way DL does, where they write out the outline, then they go and attack the novel and end of it with a guide. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's great authors who do that. So some just do it. Yeah, I tried the outline part where I wrote it all out, and then I wrote the book. It didn't work well for me. So,
Well,
and
the problem
Lee Child is also an author who does it, where he doesn't do an outline whatsoever. And he's famous for saying, "How does James Patterson do that? I could never do that."
Well,
Why?
here's the thing. What I find is that people are afraid. They think that the outline is written in stone. They cannot
Mhm.
change it. And like you
Yeah.
said, once they've written that first novel, it is written in stone to a point, but then you go back and revise it. My outlines are never, they're rough outlines. I write historical fiction. So my outline is the timeline of what happens. I have to go with what from, this date to that
Yep.
date and what happens in between. And my fiction is whatever we don't know that we weave in to
Yep.
kind of connect the dots. So there's my outline.
Yep.
But even
That
when
makes
I
sense.
kind of do that, yeah. So even when I write a nonfiction or a fiction, totally fiction story, I still think of it like historical fiction. I have this timeline. They were born. I write a bio, their birth date, death date, whatever. Even if they lived to the end of the novel, they died sometime. So so I kind of give them, this is when they were born. This is where they were. These are the milestones of their life, and then around that is because my stories are more character driven too. I like character driven stories. So when you have that, the outline can be changed. To me, it's like it's
Well,
a roadmap.
And
When I go on,
DL said that when he writes his outline, as he's writing the book, he does modify things as he goes, as things happen. So it's great to hear that it doesn't have to be so rigid.
Yeah.
So yes, I wanted to
So-
say that. Next.
So if we're talking about character driven versus plot driven, I think it would be a fair statement to say that Twist is both very well character driven, but also very much so plot driven. I think that's the things that I enjoy so much about the book is there's a nice mix of both, and it's fast enough pace to where you're trying to keep up with the characters and what they're doing, but the plot is unraveling and all these little pieces along the way. And I think, Elle, you've done just a brilliant job in blending characters and the plot and moving it at a very nice pace so that you're still getting enough of the characters, but the plot is still pulling things along. I think it's the pacing is just wonderful.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you very
that-
much. And I will
Yeah.
say that when I'm writing, I come up with plot first, and then characters come second. Because to me, in my world, because I am a mystery, thriller, suspense, that's my genre. That's where I live. That doesn't mean I don't read others and I don't write others, because I've written a horror book, I've written sci-fi book. It's not published, but I live and breathe in mystery and thrillers. And to me, plot needs to come first in those books, but doesn't mean you don't turn a blind eye to the characters, and I try not to. So it means a lot to hear you say that the characters resonated with you.
do you find that the characters, like, though, to me, when I write character driven, the plot comes out of that, or either one, the plot it affects the characters because they have to make a choice. So their choices kind of lead you down different roads, and especially with mystery or sci-fi or horror, where every choice can lead to a dastardly end, or leads to more complications and more. And that's what we like. We like the twists, the plot twists that happen because of the choices they make.
Yeah, it's like cooking. You get the ingredients first, which is the basic plot, and then you mix them all together, and the two intermingle. The characters are intermingling with the plot, and they're affecting each other. And you feel, as an author, I feel it's working when I feel that it's coming together as it should. As the plot's unfolding, you're also learning and engaging with the characters, and the characters are influencing the plot, and the plot are making the characters do certain things or in the act. So it's like it's like cooking. You're mixing everything together, and if you don't do it right, it's not going to taste right when after it comes out of the oven.
I noticed a question from Sue.
Oh, yes. Living north of Liverpool, we don't get to see many of your books around here. So this is the first I've read, and it was absolutely brilliant. I agree with Diane. The characters were fabulous, really good. And I really enjoyed the book. In fact, I enjoyed it so much. My son-in-law is opening a library at his school. He's an English teacher, and it's for the parents at the school, and I'm going to give him the book to put in the library because it should be read over here. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for writing it. It's fabulous.
Oh, I'd love it to be more popular over there because I'd love to go over there and do some book signing tours.
That's wonderful to hear.
Okay, I have a question. Do you listen to music when you're writing? And if so, what kind of music?
Yes, I do listen to music, and it has to be mostly instrumental. In fact, I have a playlist on my phone that's called Comfortably Numb, that just has instrumental music that plays. It's got maybe 200 songs in it that I've built in up over the years. I can't, well, most of the time in my life, I don't like silence. Something has to, either the TV's got to be on in the background or music's got to be playing. But it's especially so when I'm writing, I have to have music because I don't know, I feel stagnant when there's no music playing. So yes, I listen to music. And I mean, I'll listen to like movie soundtracks, because most of those are instrumental, and um, well, guitar music, and well, but just any kind of instrumental that really doesn't. It's not so. It's good background music. It doesn't really draw your attention away from the writing, but it's there in the background. It's relaxing you, and it just helps my brain relax so that I can write.
Good. Rania, what kind of music do you listen to when you write, Rania?
heavy, heavy metal.
She plays heavy thrash metal. The whole house is vibrating with the bass.
I totally see that.
Falling in Reverse, friggin' Asking Alexandria, all these metal bands, obscure bands that it's just constant noise and they're just screaming, and then she's just typing like a maniac.
Wow, I could not concentrate with something like that going on. I'm
It's the only way
amazed that
it's the only way she can concentrate. Cranking up metal. She has a playlist too. Yeah. When the music's loud, we know she's writing.
Rainia, do you have ADHD or ADD?
No.
No, I don't think so. She just loves her metal, even when she's answering emails, even when she's just on her computer. Even her daughter told me today at lunch, I know the words of all the songs. I constantly, even down in her bedroom, she can hear everything cranked. That's all Rania play, especially when she's writing.
Especially when it's a violent scene or when people are arguing. That's the best. Because metal is anger. So it really adds to the emotion.
I'm more like DL. I play instrumental only. I do have some instrumental metallic. I do play some harder metal, but it's all instrumental. But I also have some classical and some soft for the calmer scenes. So I'm more like DL. I have a playlist. I have a whole writing music section.
Okay, I have another question. When you're writing, do you imagine your characters? Do you have a face, or they're just building up after, or you have a favorite actor that you cast and put it there?
Now, most of the time I do have a picture of them in my mind. Sometimes I'll go on Pinterest and make a Pinterest board for my characters. You know, I'll find some actors or actresses that I think kind of match who I want the character to be, and I'll put them on my Pinterest board and I'll refer back to it every now and then. It helps me because I envision in my mind what their actions are and them going through it. So I want to know what they're looking like. And then I also, when I'm describing them, it helps me describe them to the readers if I kind of have a picture to go off of. So yeah, I envision all my characters, even the ones, the throwaway characters that are maybe in just a scene or two. I know what they look like in my mind.
So in the twist, did you have any actor that we would know, actress that we could picture? Like Penelope, have a face in your head?
Yeah, Glenn Close is one of the ones
Oh,
I envision. Glenn Close as Penelope.
Ah,
yeah, that could work.
yeah.
Haven't seen her much in the last 10 years, but 15 maybe, but I know who you're talking about.
And the
And well, the she's been in something recently. I mean,
She
I can't
was.
remember.
I can't remember
And
either.
the way she looks now actually fits how I envision Penelope. I mean, at the maybe a little bit older than what Penelope should be, but I like the persona that she gives off.
yeah, little loopy and aggressive.
Yeah.
The real question is, who would you pick for Kat? Because Kat is the best part of this book.
There's a character, an actress who's in the TV show Dairy Girls. I think her name's Nicola. You'd have to look her up, but I envisioned her as Kat. Now, the personality behind Kat actually comes from my daughter. When I go to advice for snark, I go to my daughter. She's the snark expert. So her personality kind of comes from her, but the look and the how I see her in my mind is a character called Nicola, or an actress called Nicola. She's in Dairy Girls. If you ever want to look her up.
I will. I'm curious. And what about the daughter? What was her name? Parker?
Yeah, and I actually looked. I keep forgetting that actress's name. She's not very well known. I can't think of the last thing. She was in a thriller movie just here a while ago. I think it was a remake, and I can't tell you how I latch on to a character and say, that's it. That's who's in my mind. So I can't really tell you how I did it. I just remember seeing her. I think it was just a commercial for the movie she was in recently. And I said, oh, that's Parker. That's in my mind. That's who I want to be Parker. Although I can't think of her name. I know she was in one of the Terminator movies. I think the last Terminator movie she was in.
Okay. Do you have a favorite scene in the book that you really enjoyed writing?
Um, hmm. uh, Two scenes.
Okay.
The last scene before part two, when everything changes.
Yes.
The chapter 50 of Malignant Doubt, the very last chapter of the book.
Yeah, okay. Do you type faster when you are writing the scenes, or just me? Only me doing it?
I've never been taught how to type. I'm a hunt and pecker. So yes, I hunt and peck really fast when I'm writing those scenes, because I know I have to slow myself down when I'm writing those scenes, because I want to. There's so much fun to write. You can. I find that I'm going too fast and I'm not giving the depth to either the conversation or the description of what's going on around the characters. So I need to slow myself down actually when I'm writing those scenes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I do the same.
What did you read when you were a child? And are your children readers?
Only one of my children are readers. It's my daughter, the snarky one.
Yeah.
And she reads everything. I can't think of a genre that she won't read, and she reads and she also does audiobooks, and she does it all. What I read when I was young, I mean, when I was growing up, I started with Hardy Boys. I mean, when I say I've been in the mystery thriller genre for a long time, I started with Hardy Boys, and then I went into like Ed McBain and Mickey Spillane and Robert Parker, and then I went into the classics: Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes, and then I went more traditional. So I'm not. Um, I don't really have like a favorite in the genre because actually it's the favorite changes week to week because I'm impressed with the last author that I read, and then I'll read a new one next week and I'm re-impressed with them. So I'm just in love with the genre, and I really can't say that I've read a bad book recently, like in the last several years. There is just so many amazing writers in the genre now that they're really they're raising the bar and they're keeping the bar pretty high.
How do you know if somebody has written the plot that you're thinking of? Is there any way you can tell that? If you think of a really good plot, which I'm sure you do, and with many twists, how can you tell that nobody's done it before? Because there's so many writers.
That's a good question. Yeah.
You can't.
And I'm zeroing in on Twist because since that was the latest one, I didn't. First thing I did is I Googled the title to see what other books were out there with that title, because I didn't know if there's going to be any conflicts with that. And then I just did a Google of books with plot twist, and Google will give you all kinds of recommendations, and I couldn't find anything that came close. And I was specifically looking for books where the not that they contain plot twists, but the plot twist was actually what the story was about. So that's something different, and I couldn't find anything like that. So doesn't mean that won't be the way in the future, but like you say, I mean, it's amazing that everybody can be coming up with these stories and nobody's stepping on each other's toes. They're all so unique.
If I could add to that, Sue, there are thousands of books with a hostage taking, thousands of books with a bank robbery, thousands of books with, we could go down a list. And they say, I once read that there's only 12 different plot points, and we all keep rehashing the same 12. The difference is it was not written in your voice or in DL's voice or in Ranya's voice. So what makes a book different is voice. And so how DL does his book and his work, even if someone did, because there's a big controversy between Ranya, you may have to help me with Frida McFadden, one of her books. I think it's called The Wife Upstairs.
And Verity.
And Verity, I
And
think it
Verity,
was.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
there's another book. So sometimes books have such a similar, like so-and-so's locked upstairs, and oh my, I read that. Wait, did I already read this book? Oh, it's someone else. Oh, they wrote the same book. They didn't write the same book. They wrote it in a different voice, and some of the plot points are almost identical. But, they were written years apart from each other, and in some cases don't even know each other. I'll give a quick example, if you don't mind. I don't want to take away from DL here. I wrote a book called The Woman in the Woods. Woman in the Woods, one of my favorite thrillers. I wrote it. It came out in 2023, and these people go into this area, and while they're in this area, they start aging at rapid paces. And within 3 days, a 26-year-old woman is now in her 80s in 3 days. And so the plot starts chapter 1. I'm not giving anything away. They find her. She's been missing for 3 days. They find her. They ID her through her fingerprints. She's a 26-year-old who went missing 3 days ago, and now she's in her 80s. So that book came out, and at the same time, do you remember, Rania? That M. Night Shyamalan movie came out called Old.
Yes.
People going to a beach and were aging within days. They were aging to like 80 years old within days of being on this beach. My book had already come out. M. Night Shyamalan, they had already written their screenplay. So we both wrote in conjunction, somewhat at the same time in the same year, this same theory. Now mine is completely different. We have the aging thing is identical, almost to the time and place, where mine takes place in the woods, the woman in the woods. She's the woman in the woods. She's the only woman who made it out without dying. She's the woman in the woods, where he does his on a beach. So that's just one example. I've got several examples. When my book Dark Visions was in New York in the early 2000s, about a girl who has these premonitions, there was a movie come out with Sarah, just something Sarah Parker Love. I forget her name. Anyway, the movie came out called Premonitions. Same title, same thing happening to her.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, no, not. Oh, might have been Sandra Bullock. Someone Love Hewitt. I forget her first name.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yes. So it was Jennifer Love Hewitt, and there was the yeah. So anyway, the editors and so on, everyone said you've got to change Dark Visions. You can't. It's identical to Premonitions. No one knows. I didn't know them. They don't know me. It was just random happenstance. It just happens sometimes, and you just flow with it. I did some rewrites, and that book is my bestseller of all time to this day. Almost 1 million copies of that one book have sold. And I'm super happy with it. But anyway, so great question, because you just don't know, and you can't know until it pops onto your sphere, on your radar.
But that can also be good marketing, because I mean, I've heard that before. Like they say, could be something in the time-space continuum that things just happen like that coincidentally, or just coincidence. But you know, and it's when your book comes out and people have already seen the movie and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to read it, but I want something different. People want the same, but they want different. That's why they keep lapping up genre. I mean, like when Downton Abbey hit big, suddenly now everybody wants English estates, and you know, and now Outlander is the big thing, and everybody wants time travel and things like that. So you know, they love that. They want to read the same thing, or they want to keep reading the series. That's what keeps the series going too. But then
100%,
they seek out something else.
100%. And also something DL said about twist. He Googled the title to make sure it hadn't been overused or used or whatever. DL, one of the things I do is if I have a title that's very close to someone else's, I use it on purpose. For instance, my book, The Unlucky, I looked it up. Patterson has a book called Unlucky. There was a list of 7 or 8 authors that were all New York Times bestsellers that have a book called The Unlucky. So I was like, oh yeah, that's great. I'm going to put that one out. It became one of my bestsellers because people go on and look up The Unlucky. Who is that author again? Then they see Patterson, Jonas Saul, so-and-so, Lisa Jackson, for all these big authors. My name's right and smack in the middle. So it became one of my bestsellers. Every time you do a search on Amazon, they're looking up The Unlucky, and they're seeing my book in a list with New York Times bestsellers. So it became an amazing, always title your book close to a New York Times bestseller, or you can't trademark a name. You can't trademark a title. You could call your book Die Hard if you want. No one can say anything about it. It's the law. It's American law. So do whatever you want.
So in that same kind of thread of thought, how then, I mean, we've talked about the same plot twist or the same kind of a theme, and using your voice then to make it your own, and now titles. So I think kind of in today's book world, where specifically psychological thrillers are so popular, especially when we've got, you know, like the Frida McFadden's out there kind of ruling the world. And I'm not saying anything against Frida. I've read many of the books and I think she's brilliant. But how then do you find a way to kind of niche yourself into a bestseller? How are you guys, you know, Jonas, DL, Raina, how are you guys finding these, aside from brilliant writing, how are you guys finding marketing teams, or like DL, you're published, So that's got to be really difficult to try and, I guess, kind of niche yourself and find readers. Are you doing, aside from this book club, are you doing like NetGalley? What are the ways that you're finding to get yourself out there?
That's an excellent question, and it leads into another question I get asked a lot: is what's being an indie author? What is one of the most challenging things about being an indie author specifically? And that's it perfectly. You hit it right on the nail. It's marketing. It's after the book is written. How do you get it in front of people? How do you get it to be widely known? And I'm figuring that out as I go along. And this is one of the ways I do it. I find people like Rania who will and Hijabi and Dee and who've read my book and want to help me get it in front of other people by featuring it like on this Zoom in their book club and other book clubs. I've been good. I've specifically been marketing to book clubs. I've been selling my books at a discount to book clubs because book clubs are great. I mean, it's a great way of getting not only your book in people's hands, but let's say you sell your book to a book club that's got 10 members in it. Well, those 10 people will read your book, and then those 10 people will tell 10 more people, and it just blossoms out from there. So I love selling it to book clubs. I do as much as I can on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. It's a constant battle. And there is no easy answer, unfortunately. It's a nut that you're always trying to crack. I feel like that squirrel with that big nut, always trying to find a way to get inside it, and I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, in all honesty, as a reader of, this is my normal genre that I prefer, the mystery thriller genre. There are so many options out there that it can be really hard, and your TBR list, of course, just grows and grows and grows, because when you're surrounded by, in those book clubs, everybody's recommending this book and this book and this book, and I think that you're absolutely right, though. This book club said, this is what we're reading this month, and I said, oh, that sounds great. I read the blurb and I'm like, I'm in, So that's how I found your book, and I'll be reading plenty more afterwards.
Awesome. Yeah, you just pointed out, part of the marketing is getting on people's TBR's list to begin with, just making it onto somebody's list. But then the next step is, how do you move it up that list? How do you move it from the bottom of somebody's TBR list or in the middle of their TBR list to the top? Because that's the only way it's going to actually benefit you, is if they read the book and they start talking about it to their friends. So moving it up the TBR list, once they're on it, that's the next challenge that I'm, again, still trying to figure that part out.
That's where you have my aid, and I'm annoying, and I tell people to buy your books, and if they don't, then I send them to them so they read your books.
And it is much appreciated. Much, much, much.
I was gonna say, I'm at the point, I have read all of his books, even the very first two that he's published, so now I'm out. So I'm always bugging him like, sir, we need more books, because I have no more.
To piggyback on Michelle's regarding that, DL, how much time do you spend doing your advertising marketing before you just got to get in there and write that next book? I mean, you have to balance that, right, with being the author. And it's like, oh, how does that work for you?
I just
or
made
even
a TikTok about
Rania and Jonah, how do you handle that part?
I just made a TikTok about that like a couple weeks ago, where I talked about, called it a tug of war. It's a tug of war between marketing your previous books and writing the next book, because you only got so many hours in a day. And when you're writing, you feel like you're missing out on your promoting your other book. Nobody's talking about it unless you're out there talking about it. And when I'm out there talking about it, then I'm not producing, I'm not doing what Dee wants or Hijabi wants. She wants that next book, and I want to get that next book in her hands, but I don't have, and that's one of the main differences between the indies and the traditional. I don't have a marketing team behind me. I'm it. So
Yeah.
when I am marketing, I am not writing. And when I'm writing, I'm not marketing. And it is a tug of war. And right now, at this point in time, I'm leaning more towards marketing because Twist just came out in April. So I'm trying to give it the exposure it needs. And then when I get little bit of time that I'm working on other books or the follow, Twist has been so well received that I've decided I'm going to write a second book in that series. So I've started working on that.
Yay!
Yes.
And I do a little bit of writing here and there when I can, but right now, when a new book comes out, you have to spend your time marketing, and that's where most of my time is spent right now.
Mhm.
I'm always telling everybody to read all of your books because at this point, none of them are bad. So I love every single one of them.
Thank you.
How long does it take you to write a book?
Usually, because again, I'm an outliner. So when I'm outlining, and my time frame goes from when I start outlining until when I finish the first draft. And I was going to make that point to Jonas earlier when we were talking about pantsers and outliners. My second draft goes really fast because I'm not having to make a whole lot of changes because I built the outline first and then I wrote it. And I don't have to have very many changes in my second draft. It's mostly editing for grammar and whatnot in my second draft. So from start of the outline to the finish of the first draft usually is about 5 months. I can do that. And that's one of the benefits of being an indie author is my time frame, my schedule is my own. If I can put out 3 books a year if I want, if I can churn that out because I'm not beholden to any publisher in terms of their schedules and their calendars. I can do it on my own schedule.
The outline must be hard. I can't do it. So I imagine
How long does it take you?
The last book that I wrote, the first draft, it took me 1 month.
1 month. Wow.
That's
Don't ask me.
That was all that heavy metal music.
Yeah, yeah.
Rania, what was your first book? A year and a half?
6 months.
Okay.
6
But you've
months.
been working on doing more
started-
words each day.
No, yes, this is what I did because I was writing 500 words a day. And then I was so bored with the book. And I'm like, will I ever finish it? So then I made 1,000, then 1,500. Then I went to 3,000 a day. And then the book was done. So it took me a month.
Your last book was about 5 or 6 weeks, and this one took 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're terrific thrillers. So it's not,
My
the
husband.
quality's not missing.
How do you get your books read in the UK? Because Amazon UK doesn't have all your books, I don't think. Is that difficult?
As a self-publisher, all of his books should be in the Amazon UK.
They should be, shouldn't they? Yes.
Yes, they should. Now, I've published 5 books. The last 2, which are actually the first 2 that are written, there's a story behind that, and I won't go into that, but just recently got added to KU. They're on Kindle Unlimited on the Zon. So if you checked within the last couple of weeks, they may not have been there and just now appeared. But all 5 of them should be available to you, and all 5 are on KU. But for people in the States, I also tell that if you want a signed copy, you can just go to my website and get it for the same price and it's signed.
Yeah. Okay. I will try on Amazon UK and I'll give them to my son-in-law for his parents' library. So
Oh,
we'll get you
nice.
known over here.
Please, please, please. I'd love to come over there and promote my book. Oh, I also wanted to say before we got through, I just today hit publish on the audiobook for Twist. It's going to take a couple weeks for them to do their QA before it's actually available on Audible. But there will be an audiobook for Twist within the next couple weeks, if anybody's interested in audiobooks or knows somebody
Wonderful.
who's interested in it.
I'm excited to hear
Half
the
of my
finished
book club
project.
only does audiobooks. Yeah.
Like I said, you know me very well. I don't reread books, but I'm going to listen to that audiobook.
I'm going to be
I'm not a big
staring.
audiobook person, but I've been driving cross country and I travel quite a bit. So I've been finding myself listening to audiobooks more often now.
I'm going to be checking Audible constantly for this audiobook now.
Karen Hollander just commented that she's also excited about it.
Awesome.
Good, good, good.
I'm excited. I'm excited that I can get an autographed copy. I have like a, special little section in my library of autographed books, and obviously I can't go out and buy every author's autograph book because I would just crazy. But when you one that you really like and you get to have this opportunity to chat with the author, that makes it a little bit more special. So I'll be ordering.
Thank you very much. That's nice.
Okay, I have one question that I just wanted to ask before and I forgot about it. I've read that you have a lack of smell.
That's true.
What?
Yes, I was born without a sense of smell.
Ah, you were born like that. It wasn't COVID or something.
No, it wasn't COVID. It wasn't because I've run across people who've had accidents and like head injuries and they lost their sense of smell. I never had one. In fact, for the longest time, I thought that I just hadn't learned how to smell. I thought you were supposed to learn how to smell, and then one day I asked my mom about it, and she thought I was joking. She thought I was fooling. They actually took me to the doctor, and they tested me, and said, "No, nothing there." But for the longest time, because I'm an introvert and I'm shy, I don't like to stand out. So when anybody was talking about smelling something, I would go along with it. I would pretend like I could smell because I didn't want to stand out. And I'll tell you a funny story about it, since we got a couple of minutes, is because I would go along with it for the longest time, I was on a blind date it was my freshman year in college, got set up on a blind date, and I went out with this girl. We were going to go to a movie and a dinner and a movie. So we went to the dinner, and then in between the dinner and the movie, we were sitting in my car, and I thought things were going good. And I did what I thought you were supposed to do. I did a lot of things mimicking like I could smell because that's what you were supposed to do. I didn't want to stand out. So I complimented her on her perfume. I said, "That is a lovely perfume." And she got really quiet and she said, "I don't think I want to go to the movie." I said, "Oh, okay. Where do you want to go?" "Can you take me home?" "Okay." So I took her home and I was mystified. What did I do? What happened? Well, I learned the next day from a friend who had actually set me up that right before I complimented her on her perfume, she had passed gas. And she didn't like my sense of humor at all. So that is the day that I came out of the closet and said, "Nope, I can't smell." I decided to lift the ruse and just tell everybody that I couldn't smell.
Okay, that was
Wow.
wise, I guess. Okay. So anyone has any more questions?
This was great. This is awesome.
Yeah.